Microbats in macro context. Hyperlocal promo strategy.
Good morning, Sigma. First of all, I just want to say good morning to everyone. Really interesting panels coming up today. I want to introduce myself. My name is Oliver de Bono. I am the founder at Quantum Gaming, a platform working on, let's call it, global reach through remote gaming licenses. South Asia is a big part of our business, and I'm here to find out from our esteemed panelists a little bit more about that market. So first of all, I'd just like to introduce or have the panelists introduce themselves, and I'd love to kick off this very interesting topic.
Hello. Yeah. Hi, my name is Deepanshul. I'm having more than 9 years of experience in iGaming. I've worked in the Asian market, the Latam market, and it's quite interesting ecosystem when it comes to iGaming, because when you compare these markets with all the regulated markets, we know we are going there, but there is still a lot to catch up with the European market. So it's going to be obviously an interesting panel.
Hello everyone, my name is Dmitry. I represent EvenBet Gaming. We are a poker and platform provider, and I'm the product manager responsible for user experience, promotions, leaderboards, game formats, everything related to product.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for the intro. So I want to kick this off basically trying to understand a little bit more about this concept of micro bets. There's always a little bit of a dispute here when it comes to whether we actually want these players or not. So we were just talking about this off stage, and I want to start with you, Deep, because it's always a question, especially in the South Asian market. We use multiple acquisition sources, free spins, free bets, fantasy sports to acquire players. But the real question is, how many of these players actually convert into quality lifetime players for the brands?
It's a very good question, and most of the operators don't understand the value why local operators succeed more than the international ones, because the first point for any operator is to actually convert the players on the platform. When they bring these fantasy sports or small poker tables, it actually helps them to bring these players onto the environment when they understand how they can make more money. Now, these LTVs obviously grow over time, and you have to put in a lot of efforts to actually convert these players. But the good thing is that your conversions are super high, and the acquisition amount which you pay to get these users via these models are super less. So you're not talking about a CPA of $300 or say $250 for an example. You are talking about something around $30 or $18 or $20 depending on what product you are promoting. So it obviously makes more sense to use these acquisition channels. Even if the LTV is low, you know that the person is going to play with you. Plus, the biggest point for these kind of acquisition is the customer loyalty. From the day one, they understand that they are playing with you. You are the one which are growing them up. You are the one giving them the bonuses. So obviously it becomes much more helpful for them, and a long-term loyalty automatically comes in there.
So that's interesting. I mean, the conversion rate is ultimately what the operators care about, right? At the end of the day, we're not here just to give away free spins or give away free bets. The goal of those marketing costs are always to convert the player into lifetime players. But let me ask you a question. Let's say take an average, because one thing we have noticed, you mentioned it yourself, low CPAs, fantastic. We all want low CPAs. But what is the average lifetime value in South Asia? I mean, we're looking at my experience, we're probably talking about 40 to 50 because you have mass amounts of players. But what is your experience on the actual LTVs?
You want to take it?
We'll start and then I'll shift over to the on poker.
So if you talk about the LTV, it completely depends the kind of promotions and the product that you are pushing to the players. If you're talking about sports, the LTVs are somewhere around $100 to $120 for these kind of players over time, within the time span of 1 year. And you need to be super specific about all the sports seasons which are happening in the country. You need to target all the local leagues. It's not just the international leagues which bring in the money, but the local leagues which actually makes these players deposit more and play more with your platform. When it comes to the online casinos, it's obviously kind of, we say it as cultural nuisance, but the more customized and the localized game is, the better is the conversion and the LTVs. If you talk about casino LTVs, it's actually higher than the sports ones, and people play somewhere around $150 to $200 over a year. It also depends upon how connected the brand is with the player in the first place. The more they talk to the player, the more it converts and the more money they deposit over time.
Well, that's fantastic. I think these are the interesting details that we're actually looking to, let's say, discover today. To be honest with you, that's a better LTV than I had anticipated. Because, I mean, look at markets. I want to jump onto this, not to have a rant, but, you know, CPAs in North America today, 4, 5, 600 euros. But those are averaging or meeting the LTVs. So in the end, your ROIs are better in this region because, I don't know, I'm counting 200%.
I'll tell you honestly about the LATAM market. The biggest challenges that we are facing as an operator there, people come, new brands are opening every day. They are giving the affiliates more money, which is absolutely increasing the price what affiliates look for. But in the end, the LTVs are always smaller. That is a growing market. People are not ready to spend that amount of money. Just for an example, the GDP of Brazil is much lesser than Mexico. And the amount of people betting in Mexico is much higher than in Brazil. But everybody is in Brazil and they're asking for higher CPAs there. It becomes a challenge for operators, obviously, in the long term. But I think they are probably pushing for the idea that if they're going to start from the scratch part when the market is growing, they're going to stay there longer and obviously get those higher LTVs. But obviously, these kind of LTVs are super difficult to justify when the CPAs are around $400 to $500.
Yeah, this is exactly it. And at the end of the day, you need to calculate your true CPA, right? Because we say affiliate CPA, but that's plus bonus cost, plus your operator and OPEX.
And the payment cost, which is the killing for most of the people. How much we pay to the payment providers is the biggest pain for any operator because that's not a recoverable cost.
100%. I mean, look, we're seeing a market consolidation happening right now. But what I want to do next, I want to switch gears. I want to move over a little bit because we were also talking about this off stage, you know, low stakes tables, ultimately micro bets. What is the acquisition rate? What is the, let's call it the conversion rate of players within this region coming into poker? And are they mainly low stakes players or do we see quite a wide variety of the player value?
Actually, it depends because since poker is a game of skill, and there is, and all players are different. Like some prefer more action-packed formats, some prefer slower formats, some play tournaments, some play cash games. In terms of micro bets or micro stakes, if we refer to poker, since we want, usually poker has way longer lifetime value than casino and sports betting because players learn as they play, and in result they either play higher stakes or they catch bonuses, try to break even, etc. Because ultimately every player is there to have fun and win money. But the thing is, with low stakes, it's better to target players through lower stakes and limit those players with lower stakes through acquisition. An example, you acquire new players, but the first table they see in the poker product, right, will be lower stakes that are only tailored specifically to them. Other players that, let's say, have been on site for a week, a month, cannot access those tables. So new players are playing against new players. That means that the skill level is more or less the same, which means the actual win rates are more or less the same. So it actually doesn't really matter whether you're a winning player or a losing player, you're still getting a fun experience. So in terms of the retention rate, if you actually keep your strategy, like your newbies are to play at lower stakes first, and actually it was a strategy probably done and tested a few years ago by 888 Holdings when the only stakes you were able to play if you were playing for a week was like 1 and 2 cents and 5 cents tables in poker, which sounds kind of low, but since players were learning while they were playing, a week passes, they redeposit. In example, they can make the operator can offer like a second deposit bonus or something else. They move to higher stakes, hence more revenue, more rake.
Plus, I'll add something to you which is much more deeper than what he's talking about right now, and it will give more insight. Most of the people in the Asian subcontinent like to play poker as part of their festival celebrations, and they go for small stakes. These are the right people because they are 18 plus, they are learning how to play poker, they like to play for smaller stakes, but they are also the ones which grow with the brand, and the loyalty here in these countries are super strong. So basically, any player who comes and learns with the platform wouldn't even want to go to a new platform and learn it from scratch. He will play there because he knows everything so good, and the referrals are also strong. So these small LTV stake players, always good for the brand in the initial part.
So you know what's interesting? I want to continue on that subject, but basically what we're hearing is good LTVs and good loyalty. I mean, isn't it an operator's dream? If there weren't so many regulations in this region or this part of the world, I think we'd all be pumping here. But I want to touch on this a little bit more. So the interesting concept, you know what it reminds me of? Do you know, like, video game culture? You come in, you're in the tutorial, we're going to keep you here for a while. When you've done a certain amount of time, we'll move you up to the big boys. I think what people feel in this instance is that they're not getting, let's call it catfished in any way, right? We're putting them into a low stakes environment and then growing them slowly. So your system automates based on the time that the player has been with the platform and then moves them over, or is it based on their betting value?
It actually depends what the operator will prefer. I mean, an example, our product allows both skill-based and any type of like level or time frame segmentation of players for you to gain promotions off. So it really also what I would like to point out is poker has a unique situation where we can also offer non-monetary value bonuses to players. And as you already mentioned video games, and I guess gamification is currently like the go-to word when you're talking about like new things that you want to try to boost LTV, right? In poker, for example, you can actually give out personalized avatars, personalized statistics, better animations based on whether, in example, you competed in, let's say, a local New Year promotion, or, for example, another example of a non-monetary micro promo is prediction module. In example, you can pick a winner of a cricket match. You're not actually betting on it. You're actually just predicting a winner, and then you can select the winners and, let's say, they play a poker tournament, or you give them out cash tickets to lower stakes tables, which means you're basically engaging players in the game through something outside poker itself. And it actually is a unique feature that allows to bridge, let's say, poker, sports betting, or casino. And it's a unique situation because you cannot actually do it the other way around.
So this is interesting. I remember as a player myself, 888 used to do this quite well. They used to have this great animation at the end of every week with your data, your stats, if you've improved. Mostly it's me, so you're going downhill, stop playing. But I do like these models, and they are good. But switching out, you said something really interesting, and I want to go in that direction earlier, that during festival periods, people come on and they like to play micro stakes. What is then the conversion of bringing those individuals into your mainstream games?
This is a tricky question which most of the international operators don't understand, that you cannot exploit these kind of festive seasons. If you try to push them too hard, they're gonna go away. And it cannot happen that tomorrow is a big festival, 1 week ago they're gonna start pushing it from their side. It needs to be slow and steady, and you need to make the player understand that you are there as a local friend and not as a international operator, because loyalty in these countries, which people obviously dream upon, is grown over time, first of all, and it needs to be subtly pushed forward to the player. So when you talk about bonuses, it needs to be small bonuses talking about how they can share their festive season with the brand, what the brand is giving to them. Cashback works super good in these markets, because even if they are losing, they have more time to play on the system. So say if I decide I'm going to go play for $500, for example, overnight, and I lose $500, and I'm giving them a cashback of 10% right away at that particular time, they'll be super happy because they get another 1 hour to play for without putting more money. So you don't bleed them. You tell them that, okay, even if you're playing, be fearless, go play, and you're going to have more money coming back to you. And if you win, the money is anyhow going to them. Plus, during these times, I think we need to lower down the wagering as well, because if the wagerings are super high, these players by this time already understand that how the wagering works. Yep. And they are super choosy about the bonuses. So all this together, when customized in a right package and pushed to the players, even if they are micro players or micro bettors, they understand these things from you as a brand first, and then going forward they start to look for the same thing in other operators, and when they don't find, that's when they come back to you and start betting again with you. And this time they are high bettors because they are no more thinking of betting small things.
So this, again, super interesting subject because we're actually talking about the behavior of players, right? What I'm hearing, or what we've discussed today already, is the fact that the LTVs are quite high and the loyalty is quite strong. But let's talk about bonuses. What are we using to capture these individuals? I want to go into a little bit of detail, okay? Now, every casino under the sun, every sportsbook under the sun has a welcome bonus and a cashback. What can operators do differently in this region? Because localization, I mean, it's a buzzword. We hear it all the time. You should, in certain markets, have localized games. We hear it. Everyone has those localized games. But what can they do differently?
You want to take it?
Yeah. In terms of poker, what you can do differently is, you mentioned online casinos and two types of promos. Actually, again, poker is in such a unique position. We can offer way more types of bonuses. Like an example, tournament money, cash tickets, a bunch of unique game formats with that, or competitions. Like in terms of localization and getting your player trust and increasing the LTV, a good example is like a country-based promotion. Like in example, you're a global operator, you're a global poker operator or local, whatever. You have a bunch of different regions. You can actually form like clubs between different regions. In example, you can link them to local sports teams or something and run an example, a leaderboard based of those. Basically, you are rooting for your own team, you're gaining points for your team, which is local, and you're giving away prizes based on that. An example, even big operators do that on a global scale. An example, GG Poker, when running World Series of Poker, they ran like country-based medal leaderboard where like Brazil, Russia, China, USA, all the countries competing against each other with players from that region being in the team. And when they see that you're actually like competing against other teams, and you see, well, I want to win. Like my town, my team wants to be on top. It's like one of the example. Another one is you can actually make unique game formats for micro bets. An example, spin and goes. Like let's say you make a like one deal rummy spin and go with a jackpot, of course, if it's regulatory compliant, right? And even though the player has a low value buy-in there, because of the multiplier it allows, he can actually win a lot. And in that sense, you get more more player engagement. It's more fun for them, because even though, let's say, you gave out them a $2 ticket, he can win 1,000x of that promotion.
So I get it. We can get players to stick, right? Especially with these multipliers. Poker has a lot of formats. But I want to, going back to, let's call it the bread and butter, sports betting, casino, especially in the South Asia region, combine that logic with micro bets. You spoke about payments being killer expenses. So, I mean, a player's coming in, they're dropping $2 on the site. You've got possibly a 50 cent, minimum fee on the payment over there, plus whatever, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8% today. So immediately, I mean, most of those players, when they first come in, they're a loss. What do you offer them over and above those very low, let's call it barriers to entry, a $2 deposit? What can you offer them above? Is it a standard welcome bonus or 5 cashback?
This is the reason why we experiment different channels. We always like to give free bets to the players. Now, people say free bets is always a loss for the brand, but in the end, you are saving on the money which you're going to pay for a small ticket size, but at the same time, understand the mentality of the player. If you feel that his each bet, say give him a €50 bonus for the start, see how is he betting it. He's limiting it to €1. He's trying to save every penny for a longer run, or he's trying to put more money. So you'll start understanding the mentality of the player, if he's a big better or if he's a small better. And from there on, you customize the offers for them. We have used different software in the past which were actually helping us to understand the mentality of the player, but later on we started doing it manually, trying to understand what players are doing, how much bets they are playing, and on what games, and what is the reason why they are choosing these games during those times. I think that's something which most of the providers ignore, because they think the player will come, they will just play for free and then they leave. But he's getting an experience on your platform. If he's a genuine player, why would he want to leave from the platform? and you don't pay the operator fees in the initial part for just getting the same amount of money. It's a very simple example. Say I think that the LTV of a person is 10 euros. How much would I want to spend on the operation cost for the 10 euro player when I can just bring him on the platform, make him play, and once he has already experienced the platform, I am sure he's going to stay if he's depositing the amount, because now he's no more there for the reason of just testing the platform. I think this is something which should be the first step before pushing super huge welcome bonuses by the brands, because nobody, for you also, when you go on a table or a new casino, you don't go all in the first go. You first see how the dealers are dealing the cards, if you are liking the way the withdrawals are happening, or how much risk they take on the each bet. We need to use the same kind of methodology or the mentality in the online part as well, because they are no different. People also want to come, experiment the platform. If they stay, obviously they're going to deposit bigger amounts over the time. But initially, I would not give them huge welcome bonus thinking that I'll take all the money in one go. Just like the chicken and eggs story, if you want to take all the eggs in one go, you want the chicken to keep giving you eggs for the longer run.
So this is actually quite interesting because it's something we've been looking at, and from our own experience, I can tell you, you touched on something very important right now. Sometimes casinos, sports books, what they do is they put this big banner saying 100% up to $500, okay? And immediately, especially in certain parts of the world, one, there's a trust factor. Players don't go all in straight away, but neither do they make a large deposit right away. So we've seen a behavior where you're better off telling them, we'll give you $20 to match your deposit than coming out with the big 500. One, players in this region, they don't trust those numbers. They see it as too great an offer. It's probably a scam, so I'm not going to put my first $5 in because it's probably a scam. So you have to kind of build them up. The welcome offer could be, here's $2 cash, here's a $10 welcome bonus, and then as they grow, that's quite a different method. So the full welcome bonus comes potentially at deposit 3?
At 5 mostly, because you want them to grow over and eventually with time, so that even if he's facing any hiccups, he doesn't see a lot of money staying in the wallet, which is he's not able to withdraw. Also, it's easier for him to wager lesser bonus value than giving all the money at once and then making him wager again and again. It's like the story where you actually have 5 bets to place. You place those 5 bets, and you have less wagering to done if every bet is a smaller bonus amount rather than going with all the full bonus amount and make him do 50 bets in the first place. So that's, I think, is the place which you have to understand and try to a little bit align with the player rather than aligning with the policies which they are doing in the other countries.
So this is actually really interesting. This is the kind of information that's actually useful to operators in the region. Basically, don't go in with your big welcome bonuses. But with poker, I mean, again, you have the same thing. You can give tournament tickets, cash tickets, but how big do you start? Because the trust factor is quite a big thing. Even in poker, I mean, there is, let's call it a subculture where people sometimes believe you have bots on sites. How do you treat that in this part of the world?
First of all, you treat it the same as in any part of the world, right? Since, first of all, that depends on the operator, of course. They have to have all the certificates, and the provider has to have all the certificates and have anti-bot system in place that is trustworthy. But also, what operator can do and their provider can tailor their product to that is make a system where it makes zero value for bots to play on the platform, right? You can choose volatile game formats. You can give out bonuses in non-monetary form or in a randomized form, right? An example, like some sites have direct rakeback, but currently industry has moved away from this when they're giving like loot boxes that actually have certain percentage of the amount that you can get in the bonus. And what you're probably getting is not exactly cash. It's either a tournament ticket or a cash ticket that you actually have to wager. And the good thing about those type of poker bonuses, even though the amount is small, because if a player is like a break-even ideal player, he keeps playing, he keeps wagering this type of bonus, and you keep him on the side. So, okay, he loses, yeah, unless he redeposits, and you can give him a small deposit bonus. So that, again, giving him out cash tickets, tournament money, probably some localized free rolls to certain games that are popular in the region. You can also do that. But Trust builds basically from a base is the player logs into your site and sees, do I have all game formats that are tailored to my region? Are those game formats fun? Like, are they fast-paced? Can I get a bunch of different multipliers, for example, as spin and goes? Or let's say if we're talking about Rummy, is there, for example, a one-deal tournament, like a fast, action-packed experience? If it's all there, the player will stay, you know? And the more he learns, the more he plays, the longer his lifetime value is. And that's the thing with poker, that you can actually speak to your audience through different promotions and game formats and actually teach them how to play poker.
And I think prize pools are the best example to actually increase the brand loyalty for the player and also the trust, because when they deposit less and they are competing on a bigger prize pool, everybody knows that, first of all, the pool table is going to be filled and the money is huge. So whosoever wins, you can always show the people that, okay, these are the winners who have won the money. And I think that's the best way to actually start with the players in the first place.
No, 100%. I agree. And, you know, from our experience, we're seeing this. The goal of a brand is always keep them on site as long as possible. I mean, even a land-based casino operation will tell you the same thing. You know, the longer I keep a player, the greater the ROI is going to be on that player. But just moving on to this, because I know we're running out of time, and I definitely want to touch on one more subject. Games and products. We spoke about poker, but there is a lot of localization. I'm just going to use the Indian market as an example. You know, Team Party, Andar Bahar. How important is it to have localized games? And do table games, I mean, let's be fair, some table games you can't really do micro bets on, right? It's very hard to offer a player, you know, I don't know, a $1 welcome bonus on a live table. We know that the likes of Evolution and the other live tables are very big in this part of the world. How do we tackle that? I mean, if I want to bring my players on through some good live tables, what am I offering them to come on board? Dmitry, I'll start with you.
Kind of let's say exactly live betting is not my forte, so I'm gonna at least relate this to poker. In terms of like localized formats, the thing is you're not actually expecting to make money off those localized games. It actually more like it's a promo tool, right? Because, in example, if we're talking about poker, most of the revenue is made in two classic games, Hold'em and Omaha. But every region, like an example, there's like backgammon in CIS, or for example, Teen Patty and Rummy, like here, or for example, 6+ Hold'em in Asia. All those formats are used for acquisition, really. So, and it doesn't matter, like in poker, you can actually give out, again, small bets to the players, give them access to it. I'm not touching like the live tables that you actually asked, but you're acquiring those new players through those formats. Maybe you will earn money in those formats in the future, but most likely you won't. And that's why most operators have all possible game formats for every region, right? And even though like 80% of the revenue in poker is still made in one game, it's crucially important to have all those games. Again, to tailor those micro promotions, those micro bets to your audience.
So that's interesting. Okay, you're using them as acquisition tools, okay? But what is your conversion rate? Once they've come in, once they're playing the local game that isn't as profitable, do you then what? Start sending them offers? Hey, try out this game. Move over. Here's another bonus. Because once they're on board, then you want to sell them, let's call it the most profitable products, right?
It's actually a question of liquidity. So once the player actually logs in to your website or poker application, he plays what you are offering, the localized format, but then he sees all the biggest prize pools, all the highest cash games or whatever are in those formats, right? So he will transition himself because he wants to win more money. Of course, you can tailor it from certain game formats, like spins again, add multipliers, invest heavily on it, but poker in a nutshell hasn't changed in the last probably 15 years, 20 years, right? It's still sort of one game, but again, the operator has to be a one-stop shop with all games possible, even though for them it might feel like they're wasting resources on those localized formats.
Well, it's your acquisition budget, right? That's what you got to look at it as. And I know because we are running out of time, but I want your opinion on whether it's worth having some products and how we move them over.
I think it's all about the engagement part. If the dealer who's sitting on the live table can engage well with the players, they will obviously bet more. If they're going to just sit there, nobody's going to sit there and look at the dealers. The dealers need to engage, and that's what we also focus upon when we are looking for a more localized product, that they engage with the players. Every win, they need to shout out the names of the players and the big winners. And believe me, they're going to start putting in the money, plus the ones who are putting less money would want to get into that league themselves, and they will also start putting in big money. So it's always about how much engagement you give them, because it's not just a local table that you can put there and expect people to be happy. It's about the dealer as well, which dealer is dealing and how much he is actually making the player happy in the first place.
So this is really interesting. I like where we've ended up with this. We know that microbets are a great acquisition tool. We know that we will use local products to convert them into our better ROI products. I know we've just run out of time. I don't know if there's any questions in the audience for our panelists. Nothing on. Firstly, I want to say thank you to Sigma. Thank you to our panelists. And we hope you enjoy the rest of the show. Let's give them a warm hand.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.